our review this week is Splinter Cell Blacklist, not Black Ops. Like I said, we were talking about Black Ops earlier, I think. We were talking about somebody playing it, or somebody probably talking about our contributor Bob doing Call of Duty videos or something. So I got off track there, but. So let's talk about Let's talk about
Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Splinter Cell Blacklist released this Tuesday, and we had a chance to play it here.
I didn't play it.
Let's see. Let's start as always. Let's start with the graphics. Now I want to say too, we've changed our review format a little bit here. Yeah, if you're gonna throw that up, that's fine. So instead of having the 10 scale, we opted to change this. We're going to have three different things here, which is what it boils down to is just a recommendation of whether we think the game is worth your time or not. We're going to have buy it, borrow it or rent it, or F it. It's not worth your time. So as you can see here, Splinter Cell Blacklist, 3 of us, we gave it here. Myself, Nick, and Jeff, we all gave it a borrow. So now let's get into why. We'll start with graphics as always. What do you guys think? Now I played this on PC. Everything on ultra settings, which is the highest, right? And the graphics look awesome. They got these computer overlays. Nick, is that thing the computer on the plane? Is it called the SMI? That main mission interface. That thing is really cool. Some of the animations, and you might be able to see it from this footage here. Some of the animations are a little bit clunky, but nothing's really that bad. Everything is smooth for the most part. This late in the console generation, you're talking. They're using Unreal 3 for this. Everything is looking really good, so I didn't have any big complaints on the graphics.
They look they're okay.
They're not to me. Sorry to cut you off. You can continue.
No, go ahead.
Because we just played The Last of Us, and it's just to me they almost seem a bit dated, but I think they're still good.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They're definitely passable, and they're not bad by any means, but. Like Nick said, we just played The Last of Us, and
I think you said they're kind of a bit clunky in some areas, especially especially like in some of the characters' faces. They're just not as smooth as they could be.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Some of the
especially
some of the expressions, they're not as expressive.
Yes. Yeah, lighting's okay. Like I said, everything is very passable. For graphics, not blown away. We've seen it all before. And like I said, I think Last of Us really picked it up a notch right at the end of this current cycle. We're gonna see GTA 5 soon. I think graphically that's gonna be very good, especially for a big open world game. So with Last of Us out and then GTA 5 coming out soon,
and Beyond Two Souls,
we're seeing better than this. And again, not bad, but not the best either.
It's just very middle of the road to me. It's not bad, not like spectacular or great.
How do you think it compares to Conviction, that was the last Splinter Cell game, right? Is it like the same, better?
I want you guys to chime in on that because full disclaimer or full disclosure here. I have not played any of the other Splinter Cell games, so this was my first one that I had a chance to play.
The last Splinter Cell game was awesome, so I am excited to play this.
Cool. I mean, honestly, there's some differences here and there, but you play one Splinter Cell. They haven't changed the formula too much. I think this one went back to a more stealthy approach,
which I don't necessarily like. I liked the other one because it was more just action oriented.
The thing is with this game, you can still take the action route. Just sometimes it's better off to stealth. Where I think the last couple of games were more just straight up action. I
like that. Double Agent Conviction, they seemed more action. This one definitely.
And there's still there's still a lot of action. You can still have a lot of shootouts. There's the executions and stuff which are very cool. But you also have that option to do pure stealth, especially with the perfectionist difficulty setting. So you have that option. You can really it's your choice in the end, which is cool. So you can take it either way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I heard that this game was more of a throwback to the older Splinter Cells, which after I read that, I was kind of I liked the direction that the franchise went in, and I'm not so crazy about the fact that they're reverting back to the old formula. And Michael Ironside's not the voice of Sam Fisher anymore, so that sucks too.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Seems like both these games that fit into this, and of course there's going to be the comparison to Metal Gear, but we'll get into that later. The same thing has happened to both franchises. They both replaced their lead voice actors who have been pretty much with it from the beginning, more or less. Is that for this one? I imagine, right?
It's been Michael Ironside all the way up
the
until
whole time.
The last one. So,
I've heard some of the voice samples of the new voice actor. His voice acting's okay, but he's supposed to portray like a 50-year-old man, and he's voiced by a 30-year-old voice actor.
And I was thinking about that.
As the series went on, a little bit off.
As the series went on, I feel like he was supposed to be, he's a lot older and more experienced, and then this voice actor portrays like, it's almost like the way Michael Ironside did it. It's like he's almost kind of near the end of his career. This guy just sounds so much more younger, and he
sounds young and fresh, right?
I
noticed he shouldn't sound like that. He should sound like a 50-year-old war veteran.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't take away like 100% from the game, but it definitely is like doesn't hold up, as much as the old voice actor. But I also really like Michael Ironside, so
yeah, he's great.
So that's the thing.
See you with the potty rigged.
As I mentioned, I can't comment because I haven't played the other ones, but it did. This guy's got gray hair, and he did kind of sound like a 30-something just from the way the voice was done. So I don't know.
I wish they picked an actor that had like an older actor, just because that's what he was supposed to be, and it's almost like this maybe would have worked if it was like in the this took place in like the past or something like that. I don't know.
Oh wait, I know who they could have cast. Michael Ironside.
This is true.
Sure.
Was there a reason? What did he not want to do it, or
no? They passed on it because they wanted to do a different. It's the same deal with like Kojima wanted to do a different voice actor. Like this, they wanted to do a different voice actor. It's just the studio making some sort of ridiculous marketing decision.
That's kind of stupid because it's like when you have a character, because it's so like distinguished, they almost kind of become that character, and that's all you. It's almost kind of.
Well, he's part of the franchise. Like people buy it because they want to hear his voice.
Yeah.
So, not a good move.
No, not a fan of it.
Oh well, what are you gonna do?
So we're already pretty much there. Let's continue on sound. To be honest, I want to say I was a little bit underwhelmed by the sound and by like the music in particular. You guys can comment on this. Are the Splinter Cell games known for having good music?
No,
I know
there's nothing that just kind of, to me, it's
just kind of the music's there.
I don't really pay attention to the music. To me, these games are all about gameplay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the best part about the sound, at least in the older games, was some of the voice actors were good. Specifically Michael Ironside.
Yeah.
The music, like I said about the graphics, and aside from the first Splinter Cell, which I feel like at the time it launched when it seemed really cutting edge. Not to backtrack when we were talking about, but they were always like good for what they were, but never the best. And this, I feel like the same for the sound. Like it's it fits the setting, but it's not like I'm not going out of my way to listen to the soundtrack.
Action sequence.
Yeah.
And then stealth.
Exactly. And then you get some gun effects, some explosions.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to keep harping on the same thing, but the comparison to Metal Gear, Metal Gear has got some pretty memorable themes and some pretty good music. Well, so I don't know if that was the case here, because I know there's been a couple tracks that were on Top Gear and stuff. If you've ever seen those, there's been at least one. I think there's more than one, but I guess there's a couple choice tracks in the franchise. I don't know.
I always think that Metal Gear always put more emphasis on like music and like story, where Splinter Cell does not.
Oh, so it's never been a thing for
that. I will say that. Yeah. I mean, obviously they both use stealth gameplay, but I'd say Splinter Cell is more about like a tactical, like I don't want to say realistic, but at least semi-realistic, just because it's Tom Clancy and everything. More about that tactical gameplay. The stories are all right. They're just like espionage type thrillers, but like
they're nothing.
They're just again they're there to like move the game along. Whereas Metal Gear, especially on the harder settings, you might have to be a little bit more tactical. But I think those games are more more about, like Nick said, the story, the music. It's more like playing a movie where
Metal Gear is more thematic. Do that, but
what's up, Tom?
Metal Gear is more thematic, but I mean, like Kojima even has he has a composer. It's Harry Gregson Wilson. Williams, I should say. So, I mean, it's like, even with that, like, I mean, Kojima's thinking more thematically anyway, whereas, like, just to weigh in real quick, Splinter Cell for me has been more just those minor interactions with characters doing voice work and then the gameplay itself. Whereas Metal Gear, like, you play for the overall experience of it, but not so much for gameplay, because the gameplay of Metal Gear is pretty easy, I think, in my opinion.
For the most part. I mean, I think it's good gameplay, definitely, but it's definitely...
It's different.
I'm playing the two games for different reasons, despite being both, like, centered around stealth.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. They're two different things.
I think in recent years, I think Splinter Cell has been trying to become, like... For me, because I think it started with, like, Double Agent. It's tried to become more story-heavy and really kind of maybe compete with the Metal Gear series. I don't know. You guys think of that, but that's what I'm getting out of.
I can see, especially like the last one, very story-centered. This one, again, the plot doesn't touch the Metal Gears in my opinion.
Oh no,
like,
not at all.
It's good enough. Like I said, just to me, in like every other Splinter Cell game, it's there.
It's a terrorist group.
It moves the game along. Yeah.
It's a terrorist group going around, like, causing problems, and then, you have to have Sam Fisher go in.
All right, we'll move on to gameplay, but to wrap up sound, so it's just kind of average across, it's just there. I will say, the weapon sounds were solid. Most of the stuff you're going to be using as Sam is like silenced weapons, because the focus is usually on stealth. But yeah, no big complaints with the sound, but nothing really stand out. So yeah, moving on to gameplay. Let's see. Yeah, it's just again like I keep saying, comparison to Metal Gear, because that's all I have at this point. Haven't only played this one.
They're very different from each other. That's for sure.
I feel like this one, the emphasis is more on. Let's see.
Stealth.
Yeah, the emphasis is more on stealth, but it feels a little bit faster paced than Metal Gear does. Like there's a lot of like avoiding enemies and like just staying out of their way. Whereas in this one, it's faster paced and like you have the option to stealth, or you can take the guys out or skip a few of them, and then there's different ways to go about all the objectives in this game.
See, I'm used to playing. See, I play them right from the beginning, and I think it was Chaos Theory is when you could really choose if you want to go like an action.
Either one.
Yeah, where like in the first two, like Pandora Tomorrow or just the original one, it was heavily stealth. So I'm the way I play these games, I'm always used to like waiting around for enemies to turn, like hiding in the shadows and things like that. So for me, I'm the exact opposite. I think these games are like slower than Metal Gear. So.
In certain aspects, you can play it differently though. Like, I mean, if you play it more like an action game, it's going to be faster. But if you play it slower and more stealth-like, it's going to be slower. It just depends on how you're playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, my approach when I was playing this was just just get in cover, figure out how to take. There's times where I will actually try to sneak past them, because all the levels have multiple routes and you can do different things. But a lot of times I just I just want to get through this, so I'll shoot each of these guys, move up, and get the next group. So yeah, you guys are right. Totally, you could do either one.
Yeah.
Let's see. I like the parts. There's parts in this game where you have to escort people. Did the other titles have that? Like there'll be a spot. So. Yeah, there's a couple spots where you have to like he'll just make sure they stay down, and you have to escort people, and he'll just kind of hold on to them with one hand and guide them, but he's got his sidearm in his other hand. That was cool because you move slower, and you have to in those situations it's much better to avoid the enemies.
Yeah.
But I thought those parts were really well done.
As far as gameplay, I don't know if they had these in Conviction, because that was the one I didn't play, but the execute button. Oh man, that's hilarious.
Get that dog out of there.
But the execute button,
all right, so it's my stupid neighbor's dog.
Really
we call him Loosum.
If there's a lot of enemies
the
around,
family is just a whole bunch of fat, gross people, and they have this stupid little barking dog.
He's just going off.
Great.
Did the other games have this execute thing? Because so you have to take you have to earn you got to kill or you got to get rid of a couple enemies before this thing.
Because you got to build up the meter. And
yeah,
then you got
to earn the execution points.
Yeah, and then the harder difficulties builds up slower, and then the perfectionist, the hardest difficulty, doesn't have it. But no, that's pretty new to this game. I mean, you can take out and execute guys in the other games, but it's not it wasn't a special move like it is in this game, where you can grab one guy and take out the other guy in one shot. That's new to this game.
there's a part where you're on a train. There's just guys like coming at you or whatever, and it's one of the most useful parts is that execution part because again it helps you. There's actually one part where two of the guys are holding their.
Let's not give away the game, man.
Huh?
So let's not give away the game, Nick.
Oh, that's all right.
No, but they're holding hostages and like just that part. It's like meant for that, but it just the way it turns out is awesome.
Yeah. It's a very cool addition to the gameplay. I mean, the core gameplay itself is Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were saying, like you played one, you kind of played them all. There's definitely differences between all the titles, but they have that similar like stealth mechanics in it. So can't complain about that. If you enjoy playing any Splinter Cell games, more than likely you're gonna enjoy this one. So.
Yeah, and then overall, just to point out another couple specifics, I thought the gadgets were really cool. There's a tri-rotor drone. There's sleeping gas. Typical, like I said, I haven't played the others, but typical things that it seems like Sam Fisher would have. So these things have probably appeared in the other games too. And yeah, the level design is very good. Oh, at the end of each mission, you get money, so you can upgrade the Paladin, which is this. You can kind of tell from this, but he's on this plane. Is the Paladin? Is this the first appearance of?
Yeah, this is the first time you have like a base of operations where you
okay.
can kind of level up your guy and everything and stuff. That's a little bit different because the other ones didn't really have any type of like progression really like that. I want to bring the gadgets too, or that's awesome too in Splinter Cell. That's something they've had since the beginning, which that's something I feel like is kind of unique from again back to the Metal Gear comparison because obviously you get all types of weapons and stuff in Metal Gear, but this one like there's a lot of really unique gadgets. Like you get the camera like drone that can make the sound to it, and then you gas the enemy when they get really close. That's been like every game, or the shock, the shock trap. They've always had those. And they're very cool, very unique to the game. I mean, I know you get like the sleeping darts in Metal Gear, but I feel like this is kind of the same idea, just with like different varieties and options, like just the way you can lure the enemies out and take a non-lethal approach.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, at the end of each mission, again, you get money, and then you can upgrade. You can upgrade the plane. You can upgrade Sam's suit. Upgrade your weapons. Get new weapons. That's a cool touch. Anything else? I'm ready to give an overall on this and say we can go back to our scores here. But any other thoughts on the game?
No, I think we've pretty much wrapped it up. Like we were saying, like if you played one, you've played them all.
Really
good, solid. I think they're just solid games.
Yep. It's overall. I want to say just the game is excellent. I'm going to give it the borrow just because the campaign is a little bit on the short side. I'm not sure about the multiplayer. I don't think there's a ton of people on it quite yet, so the multiplayer could end up being something that's something that's a cool attraction later. The side missions though, did you guys check out the side missions? I checked out one that it was horde mode essentially. It was like just waves of enemies, and it was like, okay, it took me like.
Yeah, you had to do like, was it like 20?
Yeah, it was 20 waves. I was like, all right, this is not like, I'd rather be playing the main game. So I don't know. I'm sure the other side missions are different, but for that one, I was like, all right, yeah, this is a little bit weak.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, the whole like horde mode thing too, just like doesn't really like fit into like the main plot. Like all of a sudden, there's just like waves and waves of terrorists just like running into your gunfire, and you're supposed to survive and take them all out. Like not into it. Like game was fun. Not the longest campaign, and like every other Splinter Cell, I played through them once. I generally don't feel like going back, and I barely touched the multiplayer in any of these. And this one, I haven't even looked at. So
sure.
I kind of dabbled in one of the older ones with the multiplayer, and it's kind of cool, but they don't seem to be a big enough attraction where like people hold on to them for like stay with it for too long. So, after the first like couple of weeks, I would say maybe in the first few months after that, like, I think most people move on to a different game. So
probably. So that's it right there, guys. We're gonna give this the borrow. We want to say though, it is worth playing. But if you can get it, if you can grab it on sale, maybe wait for a price drop. Otherwise, give it a rent or give it a borrow from somebody else. Maybe one of your friends bought it, but it is worth playing. So check it out if you can get it. Just don't buy it quite yet. So there you go. That's Splinter Cell Blacklist.